So listen, we're at 7:03 and hi, Marcia, now that we see you. We're at 7:03 and we're at quorum. So let's start. Couple of the agenda, one of the agenda items won't work without Lisa because she was gonna talk about recruiting. She was going to talk to a couple of people as potential members of our committee. So we'll see how it goes. But let me just, and Terry said that she couldn't come. She has 2 other meetings tonight. I too had 2 other meetings that I could have and should have gone to tonight. Just want to show the agenda. Minutes review and approval. I'm sorry, everybody, I didn't get the minutes to you. I will do it for next meeting. Discussion of MCC grant application. Storefront says mini art galleries. This is something Kate wanted to talk about. Review of draft revision statement for updated design review guidelines. We can talk to Susan about that, but maybe we won't if Anne's not here. Plus, I don't know if it was sent to everybody. You can tell me in a second. Anne was going to send that along to everyone, but I don't know if she did. And then new member recruitment updates. So let me stop the share. And let's talk about the grant. I just sent it a little while ago, but it's very short. So I'm gonna pull that up and I will ask for, and then Marcia and I can tweak it as we go along. I just wanted to see how you felt about the narrative. I'm gonna grab the screen again and put that up for you. So, and I'm also minimizing you on my screen. So just pipe up if you want to say anything because I can't see you. So this, all this stuff at the top, Marcia will take care of. I put her name. Marcia, it was still Laura on this, which is why I guess
still is.
I changed it, but that's why I think that email has been receiving, Louise told me, has been receiving a lot of the information. So now you're gonna be
I don't think so, because I've been getting everything, but I'll touch base with Luis and try to correct that.
I did. It's correct. Well, it's corrected on here. He looked it up for me and said it was her. And I don't know if as this, we can talk about this later, if that should be me or it should just be left. If that's as the cultural district coordinator, I don't know if that counts as there, but I left it off because I wasn't. In terms of, they just wanted a quick 250 characters. And so I just said we will use this funding to, to continue this sentence that they started. It has to be very short. We will use this funding to create a full throttle branding campaign to better define and market our cultural district. Our goal is to both encourage new visitors and illuminate where to find our many cultural amenities. Does that sound okay to everybody? Okay. This is a little bit of context. I had 2,000 words to work through on this, and this is all that it is. I have about 100, 100 more characters, 100 characters left if we want to add to this, which includes spaces and punctuation. So just a few more words. There's some context in here, and then sort of the to-do list gets to right here. So this is what I wanted feedback on. And why don't you just take a second to read that if you haven't already.
Carlene, I don't know, is the kiosk considered a capital expense?
That's
Marcia?
my worry. That was my thought, that might be
like
a capital.
these stanchions or whatever you want to call them would probably not count as a capital expense because it's not really permanent.
Yeah.
But a kiosk would.
Yep, I thought that exact thing too, Jen, as I was going over. Marcia, do you have a thought about that?
I was thinking that too as I read through all of this.
It is worth asking them though. I mean, you can run your ideas by them and they'll tell you if it's going to fly.
They could also, maybe it could be paid, they could be paying for the actual map and not the kiosk. And do it that way.
Also, it's been my experience, especially with the MCC, that they don't want their grant to be 100% of the amount that we're going to spend.
In this instance, from the literature I read, they do not need a community match. They said specifically.
Yeah, even if it's not required, I would come up with a $10,000 budget, and say you know, the community is kicking in 2,500 for the physical kiosk, and then this grant will help pay for weatherproof, you know how the T maps are like a metal stand, but then that's some kind of pre-printed adhesive vinyl that has the actual updated route information on it
Mhm.
that goes over, you know, so maybe we could have this grant cover the actual map, which will change over time, but then the hard permanent structure would be covered. I don't know. I've always been told in writing grants to include a portion from other sources, even if it's not required, but
Marcia, in this moment when things are so tight, I'm sure budget wise, is it something that we could even count on from the
No,
town?
Carlene, we have a blank
oh,
Bruce Freeman board or kiosk right at Main Street. And if we were to create a map along the lines of what you're talking about, that might be a location where we put it until we can, if we can't fund right out front,
Okay.
a kiosk, that might be a location where we could put it on a.
are you talking about the backside of the rail trail kiosk?
It's right at the intersection of Main Street, so you could call it on the backside, but it's that kiosk is angled so
Mhm.
that you can view it on both sides.
Oh, yeah. That's what I was asking. Yes.
And one side doesn't have anything on it. The intention was to put something, to find something to put there.
Great.
Or-
I didn't know if the rail trail owned that thing.
No,
Great.
the town does.
Great. Perfect.
Okay.
So you could get maybe two of them. One goes right there and then eventually get two of them made and one goes right there and
At
then
the
one
train.
Down at the
goes
other end,
The train.
or the train, or
train.
down by like
Yeah.
somewhere.
Reasons or Deborah's or wherever.
Yeah. Where peaks, the train is an obvious place where people,
Right.
the idea is eventually people will be
Yeah.
pouring in yeah, and also on the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. I mean, if they're coming from that direction, if they're coming from the other direction, they probably wouldn't make it over to that little section of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail if they're coming from the Lowell side.
Right.
But Marcia, I think that's a great idea. So in this context, folks, should I take out the kiosk and then just focus on the community bulletin board, to Margot's point, and that would allow me to adjust the budget? Can I go below so people can see the budget
Yep.
that I put in? It's just so simple, but I don't know how much a graphic designer costs, so please correct me. I did 2,000 for the graphic designer. And then I just priced out a floor stand, and I can show you a quick example. I screenshotted it and put it on my computer. 20 of them, and they're about 125 each, which brings us to that's 2,500. I priced out 500 reusable grocery bags, to Kate's point, and that's about $500. Though I'm sure that these are just ballparks. I'm sure I could get deals here and there. I just wanted to do it for the purposes of the grant. And then the visitor kiosk, I had actual trouble finding. There was a huge range, so I just put in 1,000. But if we want to do a community, and then printed color maps, I did as 1,500. But if we wanted to do, instead of the visitor map kiosk, we could do the community bulletin board that we were talking about, where people put stuff that Margot was talking about. And that's what I could put in place of here to keep us at the 7,500.
Or even the media that's going to go on the existing kiosk.
The media.
The map that you're gonna have to print.
I figured that would be in the 1,500 here.
Oh, no.
No, there are a lot.
Those
There are a lot, and
those-
you're going to
those-
have to make it out of something. It's going to have to be like the same material as a banner, you know, that
Okay.
weatherproof stuff. I would boost that, and I would boost the reusable bags. The bags you're going to get for $1 a piece are going to be absolute garbage.
Okay. So what do you think I should boost the printed, I won't say printed color maps, then I'll say something more that's more inclusive. What should I boost that to? 2,000?
I would say 1,000 for the maps that get handed out, and
Yeah.
1,000 for the maps that get posted, the enlarged maps.
Okay.
That
So 2,000 total. for printed
yeah, and
material.
this is all hypothetical
I know.
anyway. You don't get to it till you actually print it.
So 2,000 for printed materials, and then you think I should boost the bags from 500?
I personally, I
We
would boost the
can-
bags to 1,000 and change the kiosk to a bulletin board at 500.
Okay. Let me just,
And we can print out the bags from Casual somethings or other, I forget their name. We order stuff from them.
Yeah.
And that's where I emailed with the woman from Maynard last week, and that's where they got theirs.
Were you talking about
So-
corporate casuals, the place?
Yeah,
Right
yeah,
here in West Concord?
yeah, yeah.
so boost bags to $1,000, boost printing to $2,000, and a lot of $500 for a community bulletin board.
That would be my vote, but I'm open to,
Should we do the community bulletin board if we don't have a formal, if we don't already have a place to install it? Or should we just assume that we'll be able to find that?
well, what's going to happen to that board in the alleyway between Deborah's and the 5 and 10?
That's what
Is
we're
that
hoping.
alleyway going to go away when Deborah's expands?
We don't, I don't know.
I don't know.
They're going to
They
have
might
2
still-
buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's such
mean,
an
I think-
out of the way place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. It's just a really nice bulletin board's already there.
what about the, there's a spot that I think could be a nice place either for a bulletin board like this or a mural, should we get one up there, is the side of the Bee's Knees had been in there for a little while, facing
Mhm.
Concord Outfitters. So it's on Bradford Street, it's just off Main Street.
On the side of the building, Margot?
Yeah,
Is that a place that people could get? So it's just a corner. It's not a place people could sort of stand around and gather like an alley. It's the street, but it's a
It's a
high profile.
corner. Yeah, well, there's a sidewalk in front of it.
Yeah.
Um,
I also like the space between Reasons and the old 5 and 10 because people stand around there with their ice cream.
Yeah. Right. And I don't know if Phil, I do know because
Wade owns the building, Wade Rubenstein.
Wade on one side and Deborah on the other. They both, right. And that's a bigger spot, or I think it feels bigger than the other alley.
Oh, yeah, that is a better spot than between Deborah's and what will be Deborah's. Yeah.
Deborah's and Deborah's. Yeah.
that's
Mostly
not a bad
because
idea.
people spend time there, right? So you're gonna get the
Yeah.
pardon the use of the word loitering, but you know exactly what I mean.
I feel pretty confident that either Wade or Deborah would allow us to put a bulletin board in there.
Oh,
Do you-
yeah.
do you all agree? We can ask them formally, but I don't know if we need to ask them formally by the time this grant is due.
I don't
Um,
think we do. It's
So
not hypothetical now anyway.
I have a question so is the idea that the same information that's in the kiosk would also go on this community bulletin board?
No,
Is
the
it- I mean, they're
kiosk,
just-
the kiosk was more the map, like we wanted to create a You Are Here map.
Okay,
Put all of the, like a large, an enlarged thing with where all of the businesses are and also bathrooms and.
Like a directory almost.
Right.
I see.
Like
water
in a mall where you have the,
I see.
Put your
Okay.
bikes.
Okay,
The
that-
idea is make it very friendly and easy for people who have never been here, but hopefully will be streaming in on the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, on the train.
okay,
We have
I
all of
get it.
these connections for external interaction now. And then eventually people going over to the Baker Ave area and walking over to the village. No one's going to have any orientation. So
I get
the
it.
idea
Okay.
is to think to the future and be able to communicate with these people in some sort of way. And we can also have a QR code that, some maybe a more interactive thing where people can. And then the other part of it is that we'd love to do, I'd love to do, or I think we've talked about it, maybe a little historical, tour where people can go around or feature,
like a self-guided.
yeah. Yeah, and some of
I
that
like that
information
idea.
can go on
Okay.
that. I mean, who
That could be our manufacturing legacy and
yeah.
Mhm.
So, but this solves the problem of, the stands, and we can all pick the stands. I just look for them for the point of
Mhm.
getting a price. But,
Yeah.
and I know the businesses, I chose ones that weren't I chose ones that are self-standing so they could put them anywhere or near the door as opposed to something on, I think counter space is like gold and people.
Yeah,
won't
and
be
each
able-
one might have a different preference.
Right, right. So how does that all sound to everybody? They don't ask for much in this. It's just a pretty short narrative. My sense is from these grants in the past is that it's pretty easy to get. I mean, it's pretty, it's not that difficult to get there. They're allotting all this money for each district. They want to give out this revitalization and
Were we gonna put something over where, like you go back to Concord Park, when we were talking about the cultural district signs, wasn't that little island place gonna be someplace to put?
we had talked about that as a
something.
possible place for a kiosk.
Mhm.
Because it's like where all that foot traffic is. You know,
Yeah.
so many people are coming to Deborah's, for example, and they're just driving and parking in that area. You know, they're all walking around. I mean, when I did that survey for our consultant and stood out there for hours, honestly, everyone was there for Deborah's. And they
Yeah.
were just there for Deborah's. So the idea is that they're coming in. I was thinking, they come in and they're sort of like laser beam focused on Deborah's, but if they could see something about all the other things around, they might wander around,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we thought about that, but Di Giovanni owns the area that we're talking about, Kate, and
Mhm.
Marcia and I had talked to him about like creating a little pocket park there, and he said no many times.
But on the other side of that intersection? Right where the sign is to go back to Concord Park.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, there's some signs there. Yeah, right. That whole, I don't know who owns that. There's a little island there and the Concord Park sign there in the front of the MBTA lot, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who owns that.
That would be a perfect spot.
Because that's where we had walked down and talked about for the with Billy Crosby about the signs, and we had talked about putting a map there. Marcia, do you remember that?
Well, that's what I'm confused because I know too much. I think you're talking about something that there are several islands in that area. So I'm not sure which one specifically you're talking about at this point. I'm a little lost.
Next to if I'm thinking of the same one, next to the Bank of America kiosk.
Further towards the railroad tracks.
Beyond the railroad, what I'm thinking, and Kate, that's my top spot too,
The
other than
entrance.
at the train station, but you go beyond the railroad tracks and to the immediate right, before you get to the Beharrell, there's that whole area where there's a Concord Park sign already there.
So
Is that
that's the entrance to the commuter parking lot.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Right, but there's no place to stand there, is there?
We'd
Yeah,
have to
there
create a
is.
space.
There is. It's
We'd
big
have
enough
to remove
to.
some trees.
Okay.
We'd have to remove shrubberies and trees and relocate things. Concord Park is actually interested in redesigning that. And with COVID, we just haven't had time to actually do that. But I told them that as they're redesigning, take into consideration that we have, that the West Concord Junction Cultural District has an interest in doing something there.
Oh, thank
To
you.
help orient people. So
They own that little piece.
no, it's town right of way and MBTA.
Mhm.
So we sort of have control over it. But they are allowed to put their sign out there because they have an easement to provide orientation to the site.
Okay, I'm just getting all this down for the minutes. So I think that there's quite a few, when we're ready to put in another kiosk that isn't already there, there are several options. And if we do want to go through with it, that's a possibility. And over by the MBTA is a possibility. I don't think there's a shortage of spaces to put it if we decide to put in another formal kiosk. Also, where Marcia wanted to put, Marcia, wasn't there going to be some shelter for bikes someplace? That isn't already
Yes.
there.
It's not there yet. It will be this summer.
That's another great spot to somehow locate one of our maps.
Mhm.
It would be great if we had a little tiny visitor center down there, not even like staffed, but just self-help, like self-service, maybe maybe at the shelter that Marcia's building, there could, because as I was looking for stands, there's a lot of beautiful things that also have like a little shelter, although we wouldn't need a shelter if that's a shelter, and you could put pamphlets in and maps, and maybe there's something we can affix to the shelter for the bikes. That's an orienting sort of, information center there.
Yep, that's a possibility.
So I think that there's a lot of possibility. We just have to see how it all shakes out. And what Marcia just said about Concord Park wanting to redesign that, that's really good news. It means that we have a shot of getting in, insinuating ourselves in that too. So do you all feel, with a little wordsmithing after, what you feel like we've captured what we talked about last meeting for the grant? You feel confident and comfortable with all that?
I think it's great. I
Yep.
think maybe we could boost the graphic design a little bit, but
2000's too low.
well, but
Well, they're gonna do two things. They're gonna do the map and then they'll do the other, and basically they're the same, right? But the
Right.
brochure thing will end up being a little different than the large scale map.
right.
Yeah. If I lose that, if I boost that, I have to lose something else. But
I would take it out of the shopping bags then. Cause we can get, I would just make sure you have enough money to cover the graphics.
2,500, Jen?
Well,
Like that
it all, you get what you pay for. I'm sure we can find somebody to do it for 2,000. I don't think my person that I suggested last meeting would do it for that little, but
Okay.
And I think that person looks really great.
yeah, she's awesome.
I'm gonna get in touch with her.
We should get a price then. Were you able to talk to her about a price, Jen?
No, I didn't know how far along we were, but I can get a quote from her.
Well, we
If it ends
I
up being
also have-
more, we
I
could
have-
pull money in from somewhere else,
I also got the name from Maynard, from the graphic designer they
Oh.
used for their person too. And I
Alright.
can send that along.
that would be great, just to get a ballpark to see if we're undercutting it. We
She
still
did their
haven't-
logo and all their stuff.
we already have all that. So we have until February 19th. So if you guys were to send those notes pretty soon, I think there's still plenty of time to adjust this if we're way off base.
Yeah, I can reach
I don't
out to
mean
her
to
now.
undercut them. I just have never
No,
hired.
exactly.
designer.
Can you send me the draft?
Yeah.
I've seen it float around, not of this grant proposal, but of the map that exists so far that needs to be.
I don't think we have, Billy Crosby was showing us something.
Or don't we have
right?
like a sketch or a prototype or some kind of inspiration piece? I feel like I've seen something.
We had something that was from the center, I think. They never made one for us, right?
Okay.
I think there is, they're
From a couple of years ago.
it's a double-sided map that has Concord Center on one side, West Concord on the other. I think that they still have that. I can check with Beth Williams.
Okay. Thank you.
That'd be great. That would get us a much more precise quote.
Okay.
And I could commit to getting that from Deb long before the 18th. Of
That'd be
whatever
great.
day is.
That would be wonderful. Okay. All right. I feel like we're on good shape, and I'll wordsmith it a little bit. I'll send out another draft and I'll change the numbers. Everyone can take a look. And then, Marcia can get in and work whatever magic she has to, and we'll just wait for some numbers from you two. Okay.
I'm sorry. One more thing would we want to have whoever does the West Concord one be the same person who does the Concord Center one, or is Concord Center doing their own thing?
The Concord Center doesn't know which end is up. They haven't met in a long time.
Okay.
So I think
So
you should
great.
go ahead.
So if they
and-
want to jump in, they can hire our person.
Hey,
Okay.
Jen, you
Yeah.
should, if I'm gonna get, either I'll give you the name from do you want to contact the woman that Maynard Cultural District used?
Sure.
Or do you want to send me what you?
I'm happy to contact the other person too.
Okay, because I just want to make sure that if we were both doing it, we sent the same
Yeah.
thing. I'll send you an email right now
With
with
their contact information, and then Marcia, you'll get me the existing
Prototype.
Right.
prototype. Okay.
Awesome. All right.
Or if we have an inspiration piece. Oh, you know what? I might be thinking of the Arlington one that
Oh,
Anne brought
yeah.
at some point. That was really great.
Which is fine.
Which is
Yeah,
fine.
that could be, you know, something like this, you know.
Yeah, right. Just to give them sort of a point of reference.
Right, because it can, you know, it all comes down to time and size. And if something is a massive undertaking, it's going to cost a lot more.
Okay. Kate, the next, I'm trying to be able to, I can share my screen for some reason, but I can't seem to give you permission to share your screen because I wanted to go on to the next agenda item, which is mini art galleries, but I don't know if I can, maybe Marcia's the one who has to give permission to share screens.
Jeremy,
Oh, I don't have anything to share with you.
Okay. All right. Do you want to just talk us through the idea and what you were thinking of?
Yeah, and I don't know if Marcia, if the town is actually taking this over, but I had sent you all an article that I had read, was it in the Wall Street Journal, about Southampton, New York, how they always have a lot of businesses that are closed in the summer, I mean, the winter, and even more now, a lot of empty storefronts. And so they've approached the owners of those buildings to use the storefronts as art galleries. And Margot had mentioned in our email conversation that the owners she'd approached in the past and they'd kind of been reticent about this, but if we made it as like a district push, maybe they would be more amenable to do something like this. And so we could have many art shows in their windows. Because there's several windows, more in Concord Center than in West Concord, that are just empty.
I love the idea.
And they got a lot of press about it. I mean, it would be a great way to get a publicity for the junction. So Margot had mentioned
So
that you were bringing that idea, or you had seen it too, to the other groups. I mean, not Margot, Marcia.
right. I shared that with the town manager and with Beth Williams at the Visitor Center, and Aaron Stevens and Jeremy Romanel. The four of us or five of us are sort of trying to figure out what we do next with COVID, and how do we keep businesses and restaurants and our creative groups alive and thriving after, you know, as a recovery. So I shared that with them and they thought it was a great idea. I'm kicking myself because I forgot to mention it this afternoon at the Economic Vitality Committee because
Oh,
great.
shoot.
But I think what would be great is if everybody, all the different boards and committees work together to maybe even reach out to the Concord Business Partnership, which is made up of primarily property owners, say this would be beneficial, this would help. And Kate Carr is the coordinator for the Concord Business Partnership. I can send you that information. I'll send the link to her and say, this is something that we're talking about. Is this something that we'd like to see if the property owners would actually consider doing when when one of their tenants departs and they haven't found a new one yet. So, but the Southampton was an actual requirement that they had to do this. And I think that what we wanted to start with, and actually I took this idea to there's a group of economic development planners that meet every couple of weeks. We're sharing ideas and trying to get things to move forward. They're talking about what they could do. And again, there's been pushback. There's been some successes. Arlington has this on the books that if you don't put something in your windows that, you know, creates a buzz or creates some either features artwork or is something visual, you get fined $100 a day.
Wow, that's awesome.
They have been fairly successful after a couple of people decided not to, and then they went after them. And so now they see the value of it. I would prefer to say, this is a great idea. This would really help a lot of people. This is not just about your building, but it's about providing support for a broader base, and having that conversation with the Economic Vitality Committee and with the Concord Business Partnership. So I'm going to put that on my list and reach out to Kate Carr.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Do you know why why businesses, well, building owners push against it? Like, what do they have against doing it?
Liability.
Okay, that's what I thought, because that's what I've come up against when I've tried to get this through.
Mhm.
Is concerns about liability. Like, they're like, well, we don't want somebody in there putting something up, you might fall off a stool or
Right.
whatever.
I think they mentioned that in the article too, and they got over it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Let me just clarify, is this just for buildings that have been vacated? So the idea is that you make some sort of arrangement or agreement that if a building is empty, then they have to put, or we strongly urge or have to, whatever the semantics are, that they fill it with art or whatever until it's, so it just doesn't look blighted. Yeah.
But it should be an exhibit. I mean, it should be, not them just hanging something up, right? It would be something where we had a committee, or there is a central location that put something in or featured an artist and their work or an exhibit or a
So we have
gallery.
to have those folks lined up, so to speak,
Yeah.
waiting for their turn.
Mhm.
And then would this work for, I don't know, do you all remember how upset people were about the boxes that were in the Dance This Way window, that very prominent window? And then after some fussing and some pressure from the WCAC, they put up like,
The gauze.
windows and one picture, which I
Yeah.
still don't think, would this fall under that or no? Because that's not abandoned. That's
Right.
just their choice. Yeah. So this wouldn't qualify, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. So there's a lot of parts to this because we would need some sort of
Not
enforcement.
to start with, I think the thing is to identify artists who would want to do this. And there has to be some kind of vetting, I would think, for those artists. Because you certainly don't want pornography in the windows. I know that when I got the Historic Districts Commission to allow flags and signs without getting approval because of COVID, they were concerned about the taste of some of the signs that people would put up. So I'm just, anyway, so you'd want to have artists, and it might be you offer a business, you say, okay, here's 4 different artists who would like to display in your window. You can choose whichever one you want. Or, or it could be a rotating exhibit. It could say the first month it'll be X, the second month it'll be Y. So think of how you would want to unroll or roll out the exhibits, and then we should have concurrently have conversations with property owners to say, this is a really great idea because it supports our local artists and creates that buzz in the along the commercial streetscape, and is better than just a plain brown wrapper in the window.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it should be, the local artists, but not the ones that are, for example, already exhibiting in Three Stone Galleries.
Right.
It's not a gallery
Right.
exhibit.
I have a suggestion. What about the art installations that they have at like the high school, for instance, where the students are producing art along a certain theme, and they usually put it in the gallery there at the high school, but I'm sure no one except for the students is seeing it these days because random people aren't allowed in the high school. It might be a nice way for some of the students to get more visibility for what they're doing.
Oh, that would be good.
Love that.
Well, that would
I
be
also
cool.
think it's an opportunity though for the West Concord folks who don't get to exhibit a lot too, because that way we're showing the people who come into West Concord what is here in our in our district.
Right.
And so it highlights more what's hiding in all these buildings.
Yeah, like for
Yeah, it's too
example,
bad
oh, sorry.
Anne's not here.
And yeah, well, it could be artscape people, but also like, for example, Margot, you remember when I introduced you to my friend Brian Burt, who had waited 2 years to put his photos in Neshoba Brook. And it,
Yeah.
of course, his time comes during COVID. So
Yeah.
literally no one but the barista
Mhm.
saw what he put up. So there's a lot of people who I think are vying for that. So, I mean, he really waited 2 years. So
Wow.
there's a lot of people who are waiting. There'd be there, there could be so many people who, if we got a list going, then we could rotate them out. And would the only candidate, like a candidate right now, would be the eyeglass place, right? Because that's empty. Is that?
It's
No,
filled now.
somebody new's
Yeah.
They
in
moved
there.
in.
Another eyeglass place moved in there.
It's in there. There's the building that I mentioned where Bee's Knees had a pop-up store
Mhm.
at the holidays, and now they're gone. Both sides are empty.
Oh, the groomer, the former groomer and the former watchmaker.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah, that's
gosh, is
terrible.
that it? We really don't have many empty stores.
But I think it's a wonder, and I don't know how the historic district in Concord Center would deal with this, but what a wonderful model for, even if there's one, hopefully there's no places, but if there's
Yeah.
one or two, then what a wonderful model for other parts of town that suffer the
Yeah.
same empty.
And we can set up best practices for it and,
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I would love to put up a display now and again for the art room of community art.
Great. So what's
Um,
next step, Kate or Marcia? What's next step on this?
I think Marcia knows.
Right.
Right.
I think I need to write up go ahead, Margot.
I just wanted to mention, I actually have approached the woman who owns that building that we're talking about, the only one that has the empty stores, empty windows. I think she wouldn't necessarily be against it. She doesn't speak English very well. It's very hard to communicate with her. So I don't know.
But I think also
Yeah.
when it's coming from the like higher up, like the cultural district,
Oh, that
I bet that, these guys will all fall in and go, oh, absolutely, because then
Sure.
they appear to be supporting, the
It
district.
makes their space more attractive.
Yeah.
When
The Economic Vitality Task Force or committee meets in 2 weeks. So I'll write this up, provide the link and get it on their agenda. And then I will also reach out to Kate Carr
Mhm.
and they meet on the first Wednesday of each month. So I'll have missed tomorrow's, but I can get it for March. And that way we can start the conversation. If we can also, I love the idea of best practices, Kate, that might
Mhm.
might help them. I mean, if you're the property owner, here's the things that you want to consider or take into consideration as you're doing this. There might also be, if we can start identifying the artists who might be interested in doing this.
would it make
Um,
sense, Marcia, to like approach someone like the guy, John Gates, who runs the Neshoba, because they've been doing this for years, right? Like soliciting art. There must be some mechanism that
So what do you mean approach John Gates? What is it?
he
you wanna
must
approach?
know how to solicit, because they've been putting up art shows there for years. Maybe they already have sort of a way of getting names, getting the opportunity out. And
Bet that even Anne through Artscape and the other artists, I bet if she just sent an email blast out to the artists in West Concord, that you wouldn't even
Yeah,
need to go through John.
I have people I
that-
could ask about that
Okay,
too.
Mhm.
all right.
start our list.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Susan, you
Mhm.
think you can, because I wonder, I think it's just, we've been asked to do this too, just the sort of thunderous response from various committees, I think make it, I don't know what we would need from the WCAC, but it seems like it would be nice to have the WCAC sign on to this effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Our meeting is tomorrow, so I'll certainly mention it at the meeting tomorrow. And it seems like a thing that most people would be in favor of. I don't understand why they wouldn't be.
Hey, Marcia, who from West Concord is on the Economic Vitality Committee?
It's-
Jen
Yeah.
McGonigal, Deborah Stark. I think those are the two.
Hmm.
Okay.
If you need me to go and do anything with it.
I'm sorry, Kate, I spoke over you. John Boynton is also, he's one of the chairs.
Chair, yeah. Marcia, would it help to have Kate come and speak as well?
I'll offer it if she's interested, yes.
That would be lovely, just as a show of support, Kate, and also just, you know, to sort of interface with that group, which might
I
be,
think it would be great, actually, yes.
yeah.
When do they meet?
They meet at 4 o'clock on Tuesday afternoons, so in 2 weeks. The 16th, I think.
Yes, that's, yep. I know, because Valentine's Day is Sunday. All right. I think that would be great, and just such a tangible thing that we can do, and it doesn't seem like it's that difficult, and it just, where our brains are like sort of focused on revitalization and vitality, like, you know, that's what our grant is about, and this too, it just all seems to be fitting together. And
It's interesting. I had thought we had so many more empty spaces. What's going into the 99?
Oh, there's the 99.
there's
It
not
doesn't
really many
have very good
windows there.
They
window.
don't really have any windows.
No.
But what's going in there? Marcia, do you know?
I haven't heard. It'll probably be some kind of food establishment, but I haven't heard anything.
Marcia, just as this is outside of our mission, but I'm just curious. I know that they don't have a parking lot. So whatever sort of dispensation they got for not having parking, would that carry over to the next person?
Non-conforming.
And it just, that's it, like that non-conforming, just,
Goes in.
isn't that lucky? So it's grandfathered in, the non-conforming, for whatever restaurant or even a food store or something, like whatever goes in, bookstore, anything? What?
As long as they don't expand or put in more
Wow.
seats than they have.
That's amazing.
Before. Yep.
What a gift. Okay. All right. Let me just see what's, I've got my agenda hidden under 100 things. I think the next thing is talking about, sorry, I'm just looking for where it is. I think the next thing that we were going to talk about, oh, draft revision for updated design review guidelines. I don't think, did you all get that? Did Anne send that out to you?
Yeah, I didn't,
I haven't really studied it either.
Yeah.
Susan, what is our timeline on giving you feedback on that? Thank you. I saw what you did. I read it quickly and I saw all your notes on the right explaining why you did this and that, but I haven't added comment to it. What is your timeline?
I would say by next month's WCAC meeting, so by early March, it would
Okay,
be great to have feedback because we'll go over WCAC's feedback to that document in tomorrow's meeting. And then we would want to marry that up with you all's feedback in order to produce the final document.
we can do that, Susan. No problem.
Awesome, great. And I took a bunch of pictures of present day West Concord that I wanted to put into that document as well, because I know we had the historical pictures, but I wanted to also infuse some pictures of structures that we feel kind of embody the spirit of West Concord Junction. So I've got photos of the churches and the library and Deborah's and Concord Outfitters, the what do you call it? The train station sort of little cafe there. But I was just wondering, are there any buildings that you all would consider to be very much like embodying the spirit of West Concord?
The Mills, Bradford Mill.
Bradford Mill. Okay. Yep. I got those. All right.
I think that's sort of iconic, you know, and of course Harvey Wheeler.
Yep. Got that too. Okay. Awesome.
Other than that, it sounds like you've captured everything. The train station, but you said you got that.
Yep. Yep.
Woodfield table.
Yep, got Woods Hill Table. I even took a picture of Concord Park because I was like, I don't know, it's, you know, a residence that's very visible there. I did not take a picture of Brookside because I'm not sure that Brookside really like fits architecturally with the rest of West
Right.
Concord, but
That might be
sort of
controversial.
avoided it. Yeah. right.
People would say, here's what not to do. Though
Yeah.
I don't mind the design of Brookside at all, but I know a lot of people do. Okay. All right. That's great.
Awesome.
And then finally, recruitment of a new member, but I haven't done any work on that. Lisa was going to take the lead on that, and she's not here tonight. Does anybody else have any thoughts about recruitment for a new member?
Just that we need to keep the pipeline going, like just keep having candidates lined up.
I think didn't it come out the last time that more than anything, we'd like to get someone who would be good to help us with marketing and promotion.
That's right.
So a graphic designer, someone in that area. I think that was the feeling, right?
That or public, like events. Oh, here comes Ann. That or events, like event
Okay.
planning, that whole sort of outward facing
Right.
person. Okay. So,
Because we also had, I didn't have a chart because we had we have certain slots we have to fill.
those are filled. Those of you who are already on it are filled. This is an at-large.
Right. But it's something just to think about, like, oh, this slot is gonna come due, and
Yeah.
to have the pipeline filled with that.
Right. Okay. All right. So Anne, welcome. We're just wrapping up.
Okay, I didn't mean to bother.
No, but we're happy to have you. We talked about a couple things that you'd be interested in, but I don't want to hold the group longer than we need to. So why don't you and I have a conversation tomorrow, and I'll bring
That
you up
sounds
to,
perfect. That sounds great.
I'll bring you up to speed on some of the things that you'll be very interested in.
Okay, great. Sorry to join late, guys.
No worries at all. Does anybody else have anything to say or add?
We meet in a month, right?
We will meet in the first week of March. Normally I wouldn't be here because of spring break, but they've canceled spring break at Eastern, so I will be here. Couple of action items, which are Jen and Kate are gonna do some outreach to figure out some better numbers for designer. And then Marcia's gonna do some outreach to the Vitality folks and the business folks. So to sort of shop around our idea for mini art galleries. I'm going to bring Anne right up to speed on that. And we're going to do I'll write this in an email, but we're all going to comment or look closely at Susan and Anne's document to give her some comment by the next meeting.
Yeah,
and
that
then
sounds great. So we can get that done and moved.
Yep.
We want to get it moving.
And Marcia and I will finish the grant app. So a bunch of bustling things that everyone has assignments for over the next couple of weeks. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
All right, gang. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.